to create something that's broader than that, and that's being captured in the voice and not necessarily in the context of trying to explain a particular country.
I mean, I have a very simple idea.
Okay.
My simple idea is this. When I write on politics, I write articles.
Right.
Essays, right? When I write fiction, it doesn't matter if I do it, as you say, in Revulsion, just reflecting what is around, and in Senselessness, reflecting what is inside, right?
Yeah.
Right, the difference. Both voices influence in different levels. But I don't care about politics from ethical or from a political point of view, right? I don't care about politics from a political point of view in this fiction.
Exactly.
I mean, politics is a kind of landscape, a kind of reference. It's around. You know, it's like a sickness that you have around. You have to talk about the sickness that is around. But what is important is what is happening inside the characters and what is happening to the human being. Why? Because the definition of political, there are many definitions of political novels, but let's say that the standard definition of political novel, there is a novel that its plot has to do with political power, and how different characters are fighting to get political power, right? And how they do conspiracies and whatever to get political powers. But my characters, they have nothing to do with political power in a direct way. They are the victims of political power because they have to work with things related to political power, or because they live in countries that are so corrupted because politics is everything.
Yeah.
You know, in a country where politics is everything, it's like hell. Because people don't talk about anything than politics.
Yeah.
And so, in that Central America, let me tell you this. It is, even though that, why? That's the way those small countries are. People just talk about politics and kill. Right?
Yeah.
That's it. So, my main concern is not politics in novels. My main concern in novels is human being. How all this situation affects us as human being. I mean, how deep can I go into your soul as a character just to show all the contradictions, all the paradoxes, all these terrible things that are happening inside yourself, and to write.
Yeah. One of the things that I reread Senselessness last week and tried to write about this on our blog on 3%. And one of the things that struck me about it this time through was how powerful that book is. The manuscript that he's editing. Like, it always, the phrases really resonated with me when I read it the first time as being very poetic and very, like, haunting. I'm not complete in the mind. Like, and that's an intense thing. But there's a power to that book that goes beyond, it goes in two directions. One is that the book, when it finally comes out, this is giving away a bit of the plot, but when the book finally comes out, people are assassinated because of the existence of this book. This book has political power. But it also has like a very personal power, and the guy editing it is messed up by the fact that he's reciting these phrases, and like he starts to envision what's happening, like what the military did to like a baby, and that scene is haunting. Like that scene is unforgettably haunting. But there's a certain power to the book, or power to the narrative that impressed me a lot this time through, and I think it sort of runs into like to sort of make a weird segue into The She-Devil in the Mirror, in which they're trying to the She-Devil in the Mirror is more of a book of it's more in terms of like your influence. It seems more Puig-like to me, although I don't know. I didn't even ask you if Puig is one of the people that you read, but it has that kind of vibe where it's like one woman, Laura, whose best friend has been murdered. And she doesn't know why, and she can't understand why she would have been murdered, but there's a series of like one-sided phone conversations in which Laura sort of like explains her life and explains her friend's life in a way that becomes sort of political and sort of points to like all this like weird shit that like has gone on and like connections that she has to like drug dealing and to like these various affairs and all this stuff, but Laura's like not conscious of it. But there's a way that that narrative comes together that's very powerful. And there's, in all of your books, there is like a power to the written word and to the creation of the narrative. Again, I have no question.
Well, but, let's say that the voice in senselessness, this guy, I think that, as we were talking before, there is no violence directly in senselessness.
No, yeah.
There are not violent scenes, happening inside the plot of the book.
There's paranoia.
There is a lot of paranoia. There is a lot of paranoia because violence is on the report that he's reading once and again. And so, for me, there is one point here, how violence could be so powerful that can affect you even though that you are not a witness, you are just reading it, right? And this guy is a kind of, in a small, very just small way, like Don Quixote got mad just reading these chivalry novels, right? And he's just getting mad reading human rights reports, right? And so, because he just gets mad, but everything is in his mind, right? And so it's a book, the book is based on mental associations, right? And that's why it's so fast, because it's based on how thoughts move, right? It's very fast. On the other side, the she devil in the mirror is not in her. It's a little bit on her mind, but it's more in her tongue.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's in her mouth. You think that it's her mouth. You want her to tell her, shut up, right? She doesn't stop talking, right? She doesn't stop talking.
And she's so vapid at times.
Yeah.
Like it's really...
But the move, from where it comes,
yeah,
the narrative voice is different, because the narrative voice of senselessness is not the mouth. It comes from the brain. It's how fast this association moves. And here, in the other one, is how this tongue moves. You know, it's like and so that's why this has the difference. That's why she's much more frivolous.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there is not too much thinking. It's just the mouth. It's just the mouth. Right.
So I know that we're supposed to take questions now, but I have one last thing to say. Basically, and I'm just going to say it, and then we'll let it go. But the Bolaño thing, which I have to bring up. So you were friends with Roberto Bolaño, who, if you don't know, is like one of now considered like one of the great Latin American writers of the 20th century, 21st century, especially for his books *The Savage Detectives* and *2666*, which are huge. And one of the interesting articles I read of yours was published in Guernica online. Was about Sarah Pollock wrote this essay about the creation of the Bolaño myth, and that the way that he was portrayed by his American publishers, his second American publisher by FSG, was as like this kind of like drug addict, crazy, revolutionary figure, and there's very like pigeonholing Bolaño as a type. And what struck me in reading your article, you're like, yeah, he wasn't like that at all. Like he was, when he wrote these books, *Savage Detectives*, *2666*, he was like a good family man. He was concerned about his kids. Like he wasn't like a drug addict. He just ignored his pancreatic problems. He died. It's tragic, but he wasn't like this crazed revolutionary. He was always anti-establishment to some degree, but not a crazed revolutionary. But what struck me more on like a bigger picture level is that the American publishing scene loves to categorize things and loves to market things and create this marketing pulse. But for whatever reason, Latin American literature has always been pigeonholed under one term or another. First of all, it's like the magical realism stuff. The Marquez comes along, and suddenly everyone has to write with like flying toasters, like that kind of stuff. And American publishers don't want to publish anything that doesn't fit that bill. And then there's been various attempts of people to create a new movement, the crack movement, which we talked about briefly with Jorge Volpe and other writers that were trying to like break free of the magical realism. And then the thing that struck me when I've read like how you reacted not wanting to be labeled as a political writer, is sort of that's the